The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
We're pleased to have Tim Horn to lead our prayer. He has a radio show on 960 on Saturdays at 5 o'clock called The Tim Horn Show. And Tim's going to lead us in prayer. Please stand up, please.
Well, now you're making me feel bad because you're standing up. So everybody can sit down. It's awfully hot. Sit down, please. We'll be standing up for the pledge for a second. So go ahead and sit down because this is going to take a little longer than what you probably had planned. And it's hot in here, isn't it? It is a little hot. But the cables are coming. Look, what I'm going to deliver is not just a prayer. I'm going to deliver an invocation. Now, those of you who are tangentially spiritual, maybe you don't know what an invocation is, but an invocation is it's an appeal to the Lord, an appeal to a higher creator of ours to do something. And that's what I'm going to deliver. And when I'm finished, we're going to finish by saying Amen. Now, in Judeo-Christian tradition, that word is actually a Hebrew word, right? Amen. And it means to confirm or to strengthen. So if you haven't done it in a while, what we're going to do is invoke God to listen to us. And at the end, in unison, we'll say Amen, and that will give us strength to the words that we're saying. So with that in mind, I should say first that I'm a Tea Party. Are there any Tea Party people in here? Yay! I just want to be clear because you guys are terrorists. And I know a lot of you cling to your guns and religion. Am I right? Yeah. Amen. And I resemble that remark. So I'm going to ask you to please put your weapons down for a minute while you join me with this invocation. Those of you who are not spiritual, nothing's going to happen. You don't have to run out of the room. And those who are, please join me in this quick prayer. Dear Lord, we are gathered here this evening because you gave us a sense of curiosity. We're gathered here because you gave us the need to find the truth. We are gathered here because we can gather here, because we've been given the best that can be given in the history of humanity, the best gift, and that is freedom. So Lord, please bless those who came to teach us tonight. Bless us on our journey home. And Lord, bless us in the coming months as we go out and work to retain America as the greatest force for good in this world. And the people said, Amen. Amen.
Next, it's my honor to lead our pledge tonight. Jack Demrow. Jack is a survivor of the Normandy Beach invasion. He's 93 years old, World War II vet, and he's an inductee into the Veterans Hall of Fame in Arizona in 2008. So Jack, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yep. Let's go aside. Those of you that serve, you have an option. If you want to salute, it's perfectly all right. Or you can do the normal thing, place your hand over your heart. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Before I get into this, the cable didn't work. Does anybody have a thumb drive with it? Okay, could you get the thumb drive? Okay, he doesn't, he's sorry. Does anybody else have one? Okay, do you have one? Could we borrow it? And then I need somebody to maybe help me copy.
And they don't ever change it.
It's, no, not yet. Thank you. I'll put it up here for you. Turn this on. Let's get this warmed up so we won't have to wait. and then I'll have to move the PC up here for him. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest of honor. Dr. Corsi received a PhD from Harvard University in Political Science in 1972. He's currently a senior staff writer for WorldNet Daily. In 2004, Dr. Corsi co-authored the #1 New York Times bestseller, Unfit for Command. This success permitted Dr. Corsi to make a career change into full-time writing. Other New York Times best-selling nonfiction books, The Obama Nation, America for Sale, The Late Great USA, and Showdown with Nuclear Iran. For 10 years after getting his PhD at Harvard, Dr. Corsi taught in universities. In 1981, he received a top-secret clearance from the Agency for International Development, where he assisted in providing anti-terrorism training to embassy personnel. For nearly 25 years, beginning in 1981, Dr. Corsi worked with banks throughout the United States and around the world to develop financial services marketing programs. He's a senior managing director at Guilford Securities. He's a frequent guest on talk show radios nationally and has made repeated television appearances on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN News, Fox Business News. He averages 100 radio show interviews a month. In December 2010, Dr. Corsi opened a personal website under the theme 1776 Nation. It's accessible on the internet as jeromecorsi.com as well as 1776nation.com. Next year, Thomas Nelson will publish Dr. Corsi's book on the ACLU entitled The War Against God. He lives in New Jersey with his family, and with this schedule, he still found time to come to Surprise, Arizona, and speak to us with no fee. So let's welcome Dr. Corsi.
Thank you all very much. We're going to get the computer set up, and I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And the first thing I'd like you to know is that I'm no stranger to Arizona. I lived in New Mexico and Colorado from 1976 to about 1989, and spent a lot of time in Arizona, and I love Arizona. Been here much of the time. I was much younger then and drove all around, had a pickup truck, and I've driven all the roads of Arizona I could think to drive at that time. And it's one of the most beautiful states, and I love the people in Arizona. So thank you for coming out. It's my great honor and pleasure to be with you tonight. The second thing I want to say in getting started is I don't believe that God allowed the United States of America to be established so that lies, cheating, stealing would destroy the country for future generations. And what I resolved to do, and those of you who followed my writing since I wrote with John O'Neill, Unfit for Command against John Kerry, Stroke book. I've not minded taking abuse in the defense of the United States of America. We have a gentleman with us here tonight who fought on D-Day. And every time and thank you, sir, for your great service. Every time I go to Arlington Cemetery and walk around, say, these men and women did not fight and die for a forged birth certificate. And we have a legacy here, not just for ourselves, but to the generations that follow. I think every American patriot who's ever fought for this nation will tell you that the greatest sacrifice required, which so many hundreds of thousands of Americans have given their lives, was not given for monetary compensation or any hope of reward or fame. It was given because they believed in the United States of America.
That's right, amen.
As the last great hope we have on the face of the earth, to preserve freedom. And the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence say our rights are inalienable. That means given by God, not by Barack Obama or Harry Reid or Nancy Pelosi. And what motivates me to write and research the birth certificate is not any animosity towards Barack Obama, but a great passion and love for the Constitution. I want to be absolutely clear that once we win this battle, and we will win this battle, I think the time is coming very quickly when Obama will have to face the truth. My goal is to make sure every future president, aspirant, everybody wanting to run for the office, must come forward to the American people and tell them who they are and tell the truth, where they get all the documents, school records, passport records. If someone wants to run this great nation, they have an obligation to tell the American people honestly who they are. And the American people have a right to know that and to be told the truth. Someone who thinks they have to lie and hide and not release papers because they want to win the office doesn't deserve the office. And the honor of the men and women who fought for this nation is why I'm here in Arizona tonight, because I believe that Arizona is one of the few states left where the Constitution, American freedom, is still above socialism, communism, and every other form of giveaway the United States government can keep up. And if we don't get into Washington, we should fire them all. If they don't start teaching our children American history, we should close the public schools. Now, what I want to show you tonight, and we are going to win this, because even though Barack Obama released his birth certificate to try to prevent the publication of the book got published, became a New York Times bestseller. We've sold close to 100,000 copies of it. It's been one of my most successful books. And Esquire was wrong in saying that we pulled the book, and MSNBC and Fox are wrong in ridiculing the book, because in fact we have not been shown the real birth certificate. And I'm going to prove that to you tonight. And when it happens, this is the greatest cover-up in the history of the United States of America. And when it's put to an end, we not only need to remove Barack Obama from office and cancel everything he's done as illegal, but we need to tell the media, including Fox, that if they don't start doing their job, we don't need them either. Now, for those of you who read what I write, and I've written any number of books. I've written, thank God, 6 New York Times bestsellers since 2004. So the American people are reading what I'm writing. I write in WorldNet Daily, WND.com, on a constant basis. And I think we've now demonstrated that Barack Obama has been lying about who he is. And when the American people find out who he is, it's going to be shocking. So I'm going to do 2 things in this presentation. I'm going to take you through some of the exhibits in the book and explain to you what I wrote in Where's the Birth Certificate, the case that Barack Obama's been lying about who he is. And then I'm going to show you some of the proofs that the birth certificate is a fraud. I'm going to be finished with this in about an hour. We're going to try to take an hour, and I will stay then for half an hour and answer questions. I think that's right for the schedule. Is that what we have? Okay, if I can do it a little quicker, I'll do it a little quicker. And I will stay afterwards, as long as we have the room, to continue signing books and meeting with people. And if you don't have a book, you just want to shake my hand or have me sign a piece of paper, that's okay too. Okay, I'm happy to meet with everybody that can meet with me tonight and say hello and thank you personally for being here. It means a lot to me, and when this many people show up at a speech like this, it gives me great confidence that the United States of America will long endure. Because the people of the United States of America believe in the United States and will continue to support and fight it. Lies cannot stand the light of day. And what we're going to do is give witness and testimony to the truth here and invite Barack Obama to quit lying. American people are not yet stupid, and we don't appreciate it. Now, if I can get, Jim, if I want to get that first file up here, the one on the PDF, and I want to be able to work the mouse on it, try to see if I can make it work. It's the PDF there on the... Will you just stick with me? The one on the, not the two verses. I don't. I like going there. The one on the far right. No, it's I knew you were going to say I knew you were going to say that. I guess I was kind of beating you. Yeah. Okay, and these exhibits are in the book. These are all in the book. That's good. Okay, stay, kind of get a seat up here. Bring a chair so you don't have to stand. Okay, now what I'm going to show you here is that this first exhibit here, and it's in the book. If you take a look at the exhibits of the book and you can pass them around, this is Jake, this is one of the Jake Tapper, who's ABC. And I want to make the point that before Obama's citizenship and eligibility was questioned, the Democrats and Obama ran a big campaign against John McCain. And most people forget this. Here's ABC saying legislation introduced by Democrats to declare McCain as a citizen. Well, that came after a whole long series of controversies in which you have nothing but attack after attack. This is an exhibit, February 29, 2008, MSNBC. McCain's citizenship called into question. Remember, McCain was born in the Panama Canal Zone, and this was a big issue. The Sunday Times in London, February 29, 2008. McCain's Panama birth prompts eligibility probe by his campaign. And we just go on. I mean, if you look at the references to these, you'll be surprised. Here we go again. This is February 28, 2008. This is, again, questioning McCain's citizenship. And it was, again, something's happening in America. The issues are being caused, come to the fore about whether or not McCain is a citizen. And it just went on. The attacks against McCain. Does McCain have a birthplace problem? This is the Democrats attacking McCain. Now, they didn't call themselves birthers attacking McCain. They didn't ridicule themselves for asking the question. It was fine when they were attacking a Republican. That was just fine. Now, do you remember what John McCain did? John McCain came to the Senate and he said, here's my birth credentials. Now, the Senate examined them, and two constitutional scholars, Larry Tribe, who is very much a supporter of the left and Democrats, he's from Harvard, and Ted Olson, who is a supporter of Republicans. And these are the two gentlemen who argued the 2000 case before the Supreme Court on the Florida recount. And you had both Larry Tribe, constitutional scholar, and Ted Olson, an advocate before the Supreme Court, agree that McCain was a natural-born citizen under Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution because he had two U.S. citizen parents when he was born. And that he was born in the Panama Canal Zone, the Senate agreed, was an exception. That the founding fathers did not mean to exclude someone from being eligible to be president because he was born overseas as a result of his parents being in the military overseas defending the country. And it turns out John McCain was also born on the base, which is arguably U.S. territory. Now, you know what Barack Obama did? What do you think he did? he co-sponsored the resolution and refused to present his birth credentials to the Senate. And he got away with it, because nobody wanted to be dared to call him a racist. Well, it had nothing to do with the color of his skin. It had to do with the fact that if McCain had to prove his birth credentials, why didn't Obama? And Obama knew that he did not have two U.S. parents, citizen parents, when he was born. His father was from, which made Barack Obama at birth a dual citizen. And dual citizens, by definition, are not natural-born citizens. When our founders specified someone had to be a natural-born citizen, when they wrote Article 2, Section 1, they could have just said, be a citizen. They chose natural-born because they did not want someone with citizenship allegiance to another country, like Great Britain. Through Kenya, Barack Obama was a citizen of the Commonwealth of Great Britain when he was born, to find a back door into being president. So Barack Obama, even if he was born in Hawaii, is still not eligible to be president because he was a dual citizen at birth. And that issue should have been examined by Congress, should have been argued. Secondly, you've got with Barack Obama dodging the issue a great attempt to avoid examination on the question. He doesn't want to answer the questions of who he is. If he did, he would have said, here's my birth credentials, and presented them as honestly as John McCain did. But he didn't do that. What he did was write a biography, Dreams from My Father. Have anybody read that? Yeah, well, it's a great work of fiction. And there's almost nothing in it that's true. Now, as I researched that, and you'll see this in the book, I think I lost that when they did.
Now you got it back.
Okay. I just want to scroll down on it. What I did is I researched, Barack Obama said that his mother and father lived together in Hawaii. All these are articles about John McCain. Can you believe how much the press attacked John McCain? Yeah. And everybody ignored it. It was okay. It was just fine. Nobody thought anything double about it because, you know, McCain was okay to attack, and Barack Obama could avoid being attacked. Now, as I started researching, and you see I published 125 pages of documents in this book, so you can see for yourself the evidence, and not be just having to rely on somebody telling it to you. Okay, now Barack Obama produced this short-form certification of live birth. And I think it was a fraud from the very beginning. It says on it, when you look at it in detail, that his father's race was African. Well, African's not a race. In Africa, and I've been to Africa many times, you might remember I got detained in Africa the last time I was there in Kenya. Something I don't plan to do again. Well, the idea and story was that Barack Obama's mother met him in school. He was the first African to be in Hawaii, attending the University of Hawaii, and he was a celebrity. And Ann Dunham, supposedly this young 18-year-old girl, fell in love with him, and they got married, and they had the baby Barack Obama, and they lived together until 1962. The baby was born in 1961, August 61. Remember, Barack Obama's 50. You know, his 50th birthday is being celebrated. And so Barack Obama said, my parents lived together until my father decided he had to go to Harvard, and that's when the family broke up. Well, it's all a lie. I researched it, and as we scroll down here a little bit, I'm going to be able to show you that what happened was that the mother, within 3 weeks of Barack Obama being born, went to the University of Washington in Seattle and enrolled in extension courses which were taught as night classes at the university. That's the truth. I have where they were. I have all of the records in terms of the birth records. I tracked the records from the transcript of Barack Obama's mother at the University of Washington. You'll find that in here on these pages. Now I want you to think about this for a minute. All these pages are, Barack Obama said that he was first born at Queens Medical Center. and they changed the story. He was born in Kapiolani. Has anybody here been born in 2 different hospitals at the same time? Anybody here confused about what hospital they were born in? Okay, and so Barack Obama changed the story about which hospital he was born in, and I've got the transcripts in here from his mother at the University of Washington. All these pages, all this documentation, which I've gone through to prove that the lies he's told have been extensive. Here's the transcripts, starting here. Now, think about it for a minute. This 18-year-old girl, and Ann Dunham takes Barack Obama, a 3-week-old baby, and leaves her mother, goes from Honolulu to Seattle, where she enrolls at the University of Washington and starts taking extension courses. Okay, now, when I first realized this, and I've got all the transcripts, I've got even the University of Washington on their letterhead, you can see there, University of Washington, and they sent me her grades, they sent me her courses, they sent me the catalog of the courses to know this is the catalog, to know they were evening classes. I mean, I talked to the babysitter in Seattle. Okay, now, for all you who've had babies, I expect most people have dealt with 3-week-old babies. I certainly have. I'll tell you, and you all know it, they're 100% time and effort. 3-week-old baby can't do anything on behalf of itself, except cry and eat and sleep.
A couple other things.
And you know, any mother, 18 years old, who says, I'm going to take this baby without my mother and go to Seattle, all those thousands of miles away, and go to school, it just is incredible. It's not likely to have happened. And when I realized this, I realized that Obama had been lying that his mommy and daddy had lived together. They never lived together. And then I got the Immigration and Naturalization Service reports, and they said, the INS said that they didn't believe Barack Obama's mother and father had even been married. I couldn't find a marriage certificate. In fact, they said Barack Obama Sr. was having girlfriends all this time at the University of Hawaii. And I found about 7 newspaper stories from Barack Obama's father at the University of Hawaii, and because he was a celebrity. First African comes to the school at the University of Hawaii. None of these mention the mother or the child. Now, I'm a reporter. Any reporter would be fired if they didn't get the story. You know what the story is? African comes to Hawaii, first to attend University of Hawaii. Marries local girl, has baby. Well, where's the marries local girl, has baby part? It doesn't exist. Ann Dunham was gone. These two were never married. And the Immigration and Naturalization Service didn't even believe necessarily it was Ann Dunham's child. Now, the research that I've done, what I think finally happened, you have to excuse me, I've had this bad cold. I've been fighting it all the last 2 weeks. So I'll take a drink of water here. What I think happened is this, and I kind of apologize for telling you this story. Ann Dunham was a very rebellious child, and she did not want to come to Hawaii. Her parents were pretty far on the left, and friends of Frank Marshall Davis, a communist poet, African-American poet from Chicago, and he settled in Hawaii. Ann Dunham, in her rebellious years, first months in Hawaii, decided she was going to spend a lot of time in Bill Lederer's bar on Hotel Street. Anybody know Hawaii? Okay, know Hotel Street? Enough said. Ann Dunham got pregnant. She evidently wanted Barack Obama to be the father. And I think it's likely Ann Dunham went to Kenya by herself, their own money, try to convince Barack Obama's family that she was the one. I think she had this fantasy of being an Eva Peron of Kenya. And when she got back, Barack Obama Sr. didn't want to have anything to do with her. Barack Obama Sr. didn't have anything to do with most of the children he had. He had 4 or 5 wives, he had 6 or 7 or 8 children, and he never raised any of them. Now, out of this story, if Obama had just told the straight truth, nobody in this room would fault a person for birth circumstances over which they had no control. There's nothing shameful about this story. Certainly not for Barack Obama Jr. If a baby was born in these circumstances, we'd say, not the baby's fault. God brought that life into the world, and that baby was pure, regardless of what the parents had done. But the fact that the lie was told means something was being covered up. And what was being covered up is that there is no proof in Hawaii that Ann Dunham ever was in any of the hospitals in Hawaii. And I know that because I've been going to Hawaii since 2008 and offering a lot of money if anybody had any records. When they released the birth certificate, they did not release any corroborating records that Barack Obama Sr.'s mother had ever been a patient in any of those hospitals. I showed up at Kapiolani Hospital the week before the book was published, after Barack Obama Sr. had released the birth certificate, and I wanted to see the letter Barack Obama had sent to the hospital saying this was his birth hospital. I wanted to see Ann Dunham's patient records. And the Director of Human Services got on the phone and said, Dr. Corsi, if you don't leave the premises immediately, we're going to have you arrested. I said, what for? If that were a hospital, were my hospital, and the President of the United States was born there, I'd have a little shrine in the front of the building with pictures, documents, and I'd be raising money like crazy on it. I wouldn't be throwing people out and threatening to arrest them. Here you've got Orly Tates. Everybody know who Orly Tates is? Well, Orly Tates is a very brave woman. I want a round of applause for Orly is deserved. She's gotten a lot of abuse. I spoke with Orly Tates today. Orly Tates has filed a motion, a subpoena. She's gotten a subpoena to see the records of Barack Obama's birth at the vault in the hospital, in the Hawaii Department of Health. And she showed up about a week ago, and the Attorney General's office met her with a letter where they refused to show the documents. She went over to federal district court, and the judge set a hearing, I think for September 18th, show cause hearing, why the state won't comply with their subpoena. Now let me ask you, if Barack Obama says, this is my birth certificate, and he released it, why won't the Hawaii Department of Health show it to anybody? Doesn't make any sense. No, you can't see it. I'm sorry. Just believe us that it's here. If there's any lawyers in the room, the best evidence of a document is the document itself. And any judge or lawyer in a case where a document was under question, the lawyer would say, Judge, we need to see the original document. And the judge would say, you bet you do. And if you don't get the original document, guess what? You win. And the next thing you do is you say, well, thank you for the original document. I'd like to submit it to independent forensic testing to see if the document's legitimate. And by the way, I'd like to know the complete chain of custody of this document. What book was it in? Who had access to that book? What were the procedures for signing it in and signing it out? I'd like to see the dates on which this one was signed in and signed out. Was any ever signed out and lost? I mean, I'd give you an hour and a half of questions. Any lawyer in this room could give you an hour and a half of questions about where that document was and how it is that it came to be produced in the White House. But if you ask this question, you're a birther. You get ridiculed. You get laughed at. Why? Because we haven't been told the truth. And the ridicule, the lying, the refusing to show the documents is all a continuation of the cover-up. Now, the fundamental issue here is not just pursuing who Barack Obama is with his birth certificate, but he refuses to give us any records. We don't have, he was in Indonesia. I've got in here the records from Indonesia, and we're going to get this to roll again, just to, you just kind of, I've got here the documents from Indonesia. Barack Obama was in Indonesia when he was about 6 to age 10. There we go. Here, I'll roll it down. And I've got here the school records. He was registered in the school as Barry Sotoro. By the way, this is a picture of Barack Obama Sr. at a party at the University of Hawaii. When it was supposed to be, no mention or indication at all that he was married. He seemed to have been a bachelor. There he is on the right there, mixing with the other students. That little Asian woman seemed to be particularly fond of him. She's in a lot of the pictures. And, you know, Barack Obama lied about everything. He said his father came over on the airlift that Tom Lavoie and Jackie Robinson put together. I went to a Library of Congress, I got the records. Barack Obama's name is not on the records. He didn't come on that airlift. It was all a lie. He came on his own money, and probably some money provided by some sources that may ultimately, if we track it down, go back to the Soviet Union. There's the school records. You can see Barry Sotoro. Well, if he was Barry Sotoro in Indonesia, he may have been an Indonesian citizen, and he may have been adopted by his father, and that's again a dual citizen. A dual citizen is not a natural-born citizen, even if he didn't have anything to do with making the decision. Natural-born citizen isn't anything you consciously do. It's just the facts of your birth. You have to be two U.S. citizen parents when you're born in the United States of America, and never have compromised your citizenship by having belonged to any other citizen by adoption or any other way. Now this is a form with Ann Dunham, the mother, and Ann Dunham was in Indonesia. You can see right there, this is a passport form. Barack Obama was on her passport. When she was in Indonesia, Ann Dunham submitted a form to the State Department to remove her son from her passport. And she put down, she scratched out the name, that's what the instructions were to do. And if you can see it, she wrote underneath her handwriting, Soy Barca. Barack Hussein Obama Soy Barca. Well, that's another Indonesian surname. What's he doing with an Indonesian surname? And why can't we see the papers of what he was doing in Indonesia, whether he was adopted, whether that guy registered in Hawaii, what passports he traveled under? Can't see them. How about Barack Obama's kindergarten records? Can't see them. What about his grades in school? Sorry, they're not available. No documents there. You can see very clearly Barack Hussein Obama Soy Barca. Well, I think that deserves some questions, don't you? I'd like to have some answers to that. And as you go along here, every part of this, by the way, even discrepancies of Barack Obama's existing passport. His name is not the same as it is on his birth certificate. There's a very interesting picture. This is one with Barack Obama supposedly in 3rd grade with a guy named Scott Inouye, who's currently a chiropractor in Hawaii. It's taken in 1969. The only problem with this picture is in 1969, Barack Obama should have been in Indonesia. Well, what's he doing here with this picture that Mrs. Inouye put down Barack Obama 3rd grade, Scott and Barry, 1969. And again, I'm telling you, Barack Obama's life is almost like an intelligence agency put it together. Maybe the KGB. A little mixture of truth and lies, a little misinformation, because none of it fits together. And the more I investigated, it doesn't come out the way it was supposed to be. By the way, this is a sister for Barack Obama, a half-sister who he never talked about. She died recently, and the Indonesian newspapers talked about her at length. Barack Obama's never acknowledged he had this sister. And it goes on and on and on, and the more you investigate it. And we've got the department in Hawaii consistently lying and stonewalling when it should be very simple. If the document's there, show it to the American people. Because the American people can handle the truth. Jack Nicholson was wrong. We can handle the truth. We had to handle the truth in Pearl Harbor. We had to handle the truth on November 22nd, 1963. And we can handle the truth with regards to Barack Obama or Barry Soetoro.
And take appropriate action.
And take appropriate action. If it means removing him from office now, let's do it. Because what comes first and foremost is the Constitution. This is what Americans since the Revolutionary War have fought and died for. When this gentleman hit the beaches in D-Day, fought through Dachau. And we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude that it creates for us an obligation to demand the truth.
Amen.
And not to rest or quit being vigilant until we have the truth. And not to care what names we're called or who wants to ridicule us. I couldn't care less.
Amen.
And if Fox doesn't want to have me on TV, shame on Fox. I couldn't care less. When I wrote Unfit for Command, we talked to the American people and we reached it first without Fox. And I'm confident that the American people, millions are listening to what we're saying here tonight. Your presence attests to that. Because, you know, the truth is, when anyone is lied to, you know you're being lied to. When your kid says, the dog ate the homework, you and the teacher both know the kid didn't do the homework. Well, Barack Obama's been saying for his whole life, the dog ate his kindergarten records. It ate his adoption records. The dog ate his passport records. The dog ate his scholarship records. Ask Barack Obama for his calendar when he was a state senator. He said we didn't keep one. Ask Barack Obama how many times he knew Bill Ayers. He said, well, he was a guy in my neighborhood, and our kids went to school. Well, I'm sorry. Ayers' kids are all old and grown and the like. They're adults. Barack Obama's kids are little girls. Unless Ayers' kids were very slow, they never spent a day together. And the fact that Barack Obama get away with that is shocking. Now I want to put the birth certificate up here. If we just get the birth certificate, go back to the screens. I'm going to try to show you just a few things about the birth certificate. Let's go back to the three files. This is going to be hard to see this a little bit from the back. But we have had, at World at Daily, I've just about written another book since I wrote Where's the Birth Certificate? And we've had 20 experts. The other one, I want the other one. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, here's the birth certificate. And this is what, an Adobe? So
Yes.
if I want to magnify this, what I want to do is I want to get that number 10641.
You're really pushing it now.
And I want to make it larger, okay?
Whoop.
I lost it.
You didn't lose it, it's yours.
When you take a look at this birth certificate, it's an obvious fraud. It's not even hard to figure it out. And the experts that I've had do it just have 10641. You're getting that? Now watch this number. Do you see how the 10641, the 41 is beginning to look a little different than the...
You gotta wait.
There we go. Do it even larger there. Can we get a little larger than that?
That's good. We're happy.
We want you to be happy.
We're happy.
Okay. Now do you see how the one on that, the last one, is lighter in color? And you see how the 1064 is bitmapped, how they look kind of jagged, and the one looks smooth?
All three of them are different.
Well, it's because the number 10641 was made up. In other words, the one was added into the number they were copying off of. And in fact, when I published it, take a real hard look at this 4. Let's see if we get even higher.
It was a 2.
Make it like 1200. It'll take a little bit to do it, but get it up to 1200. Let's drop that down. 1600. Go up to the number. It'll take you a minute to find it, but you'll find it.
Sure.
Yeah, you'll find it. Let's go over.
Oh, you need a little favor.
Gotta go over it. You'll find it. When you're going to see this, you're going to be shocked how it looks. That's it. Pull it down. Keep going. It'll come. Let's move it over here. No, we'll find it. Okay, let's do it not 1600. Let's do it like this. 800. Let's go. Yeah.
She only was.
Okay, can you see that now? Can you see how different that one looks? See how different that one looks? The last one is different in color. It's straight lines, all these other are jagged. That's a cut and paste job.
Yeah.
And all the pixels in there, how all those pixels are disturbed is because it was dropped in there not very professionally. In fact, if you look at the 4,
Was it 9?
4 was really a 3.
3 maybe?
One of the birth certificates they worked on out was number 10637 and 10638, the Nordyke twins birth certificates. So whoever forged this took the 4 and made it into, took the 3 in the Nordykes and made it into a 4, removed the last digit and dropped in a 1. And we've had expert after expert tell us that that's an obvious sign of forgery. Okay, and it's not even hard to recognize. Now I want to come down to the bottom of this document. And this is actually the one that I think is my favorite of the whole. Oh, by the way, there, look at that number, the August 8th, 1961. See how everything, all they look gray, and the 1961, it looks different in color?
Yeah.
Well, again, that's a cut and paste job. And when you come on down here, we've got a registrar stamp. And this is the registrar stamp. The stamp is one that they stamp on the document to say it's an authentic document. Now, what do you see wrong there? Yeah, the E's misspelled. It's not T-H-E, it's T-X-E. See that? Or T-K-E. Now, no official uses a rubber stamp with a misspelling in it. Not on potentially one of the most important documents in recent American history. Oh, I'm sorry. We had a misspelling in the stamp. What do you mean you had a misspelling in the stamp? How many times have you used this stamp? Didn't you know it was a why didn't you get a new stamp? They cost about 38 cents. You got to use one with a misspelling in it? I don't think so. I think the forger did that on purpose to draw attention to the forgery. You also see things, look at that, how that gray space is in there. Well, again, that's part of the forger not knowing to go in and clean out the pixels in the forgery that was dropped in there. And then my absolutely favorite is the Alvin Onaka. This is the signature of the registrar in Hawaii. What do you see about Alvin's signature that's kind of unusual?
A smiley face.
A smiley face in the A. Now, I mean, I know Alvin Onaka. He's a very serious PhD. He's been doing this job for decades. He does not have a smiley face in the loop of his A, of his signature on the official stamp. The guy doesn't have a sense of humor. You know, and when you look at it even more closely, that E, that 3 looks like it's made up of an E.
Yeah.
And I can show you in this document where I think the signature Mike is. I think probably whoever did this had a name Mike, was putting it in the signature. Okay, good. I'm all set. Now there's a lot of other things I can show you about this that show that the document is forged, but I think you've seen enough to know that there's problems with this document. And again, for the lawyers in court, by the time I'm questioning this document as a lawyer and examining the document, the judge has just about had it. So I said, we don't need any more of this. Where did this document come from? You know, I want Alvin Onaka in here. I want him to explain why this happened. If there's any others in his stamps that show these characteristics. Or it's only on the President of the United States that he misspells words and puts a smiley face in his A. No judge in America is going to have a sense of humor over this. And neither should the American people. Because if some forger's playing a joke on this, I don't think it's funny. And that's their sense of humor, that we're all so stupid that we won't recognize a fake, and that he can laugh at us and how smart he is to produce this forgery. I'd say, let's prosecute him and put him in jail for a felony. Now, why I'm here, and when I got Brian's email, where I caught my attention, you know, you see, I get 1,000 emails a day. I try to read them all, because you never know who's going to be writing, and after you get a while in it, I think the hand of God kind of takes over. And you pay attention to the ones that you're shown have some kind of an energy to them, make an impact on you. Because a lot of them are, you know, ones are repetitive, or people that I read some of and I can figure out where they're going, and some of them really just catch your attention. Every single one of the 20 experts that we presented in WorldNet Daily wrote to me first and offered. They said, I've been writing the New York Times, Washington Post. Nobody will listen to me. Would you listen to me? I said, I want to show you why the document's a forgery. And I listened to them. And I said, explain it to me, and then I'll explain it to the American people. Now, what Brian has said we need to do is that the Congress won't investigate. And you all, when you write to your congressmen and senators, they send you back these form letters. If I get one more form letter from a senator or a congressman, I'm going to walk to Washington and rip them out of their office. I mean, I'm so tired of the lying that comes out of Washington, and they're treating us like we're children for asking them questions that are important to us. You know, they send you back these form letters as if you were an imbecile. Oh, we're taking care of this, we think it's a very important matter, and we're having hearings on it, and we'll report back to you. Of course, they never say a thing. I tell you, you're wrong. You know, the fact is that we need a congressional investigation. And I'm drawn here, as I say, I spent a lot of time in Arizona, and I've tremendously admired Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I first met him in the Iowa in 2008, in the Iowa caucuses, we were both on a radio row, and I got to meet him. That was also when I met Ron Paul. He asked me for a signed copy of the late great USA. I was quite honored to give him one. And I remained in touch with Ron Paul ever since, and I have great admiration for Ron Paul. I also have great admiration for Joe Arpaio, because he's no nonsense. My read of Joe Arpaio is that he is determined to enforce the law and do his job. Now, the felony has been committed here, and I think the birth certificate, when I published the book, I'd been told by sources in Hawaii that the document had been forged and had been slipped into the book. And Joseph Farah, who's head of WorldNet Daily, said, well, maybe we should change the book and make it like ineligible for a command or something, ineligible to be pressed. I said, no, let's keep the title the way it is. Because even if we suffer a public relations setback, Obama releases the birth certificate and laughs and says, ho, 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 where's the birth certificate? Well, it's on the White House website. Laugh, laugh. I say to Joseph, we have achieved what I want to achieve. That is, if Barack Obama thinks that he can make the issue go away and embarrass the book by releasing the birth certificate, let's force his hand. Because once he released this birth certificate, everything changed. Now, Barack Obama's in the chain of evidence. He came to the White House press room and said, this is my birth certificate. And he released a forged document. So from April 27th through the rest of his presidency depends on this being an authentic document. And the moment it's shown to be a forgery, he should be ripped out of the White House. It's not only that every time everyone opens this document in Arizona, they're opening a forgery, and that's a crime. But Obama intends to be on the ballot in Arizona in 2012. And so the forgery was committed with an intention to be fraudulently on your presidential ballot in 2012. That makes it an Arizona issue. It should give Sheriff Joe Arpaio jurisdiction.
Yahoo!
And he can begin a criminal investigation with that petition you're signing tonight. I'm going to go and see him tomorrow morning. We're going to offer him the opportunity to do it. Now, I met Sheriff Arpaio many times since then, since 2008. And always my assessment of him is the following. First of all, I think he's a great American patriot.
Right.
I think he's doing this again not for fame, or he's just won. The Justice Department just withdrew their case against him. You all know that.
Yes.
And your governor, whom I'm deeply disappointed in, did not sign the eligibility bill that was put on her desk by your legislature. And I can show you lots of pictures with her kissy-kissy with Barack Obama, who's gone out of his way to make her his best friend. But Joe Arpaio doesn't care. And the governor can't tell him not to do his job. She can't tell him not to investigate a crime he thinks may have been committed in Maricopa County. And if Joe Arpaio sees it and agrees to do this, it will take one county to put Barack Obama on notice that we want the real birth certificate and we want him to quit lying. And the issue is not going to go away in the 2012 election because he released a fraudulent document. This is the greatest cover-up in American history. Got someone who, you don't know all the countries he's traveled in. Don't know all the places he was educated. Don't know what he was doing at Columbia. Why do so many people never even remember seeing him there? Great constitutional scholar. Didn't do anything when he was on the law review at Harvard. Great lawyer, surrendered his law license. Why did he and his wife both surrender their law licenses? Didn't know Tony Rezko too well. Well, I think that's not likely the case. I published an article in World at Daily on Monday showing that the buffer zone, that little strip of property that Rita Rezko bought so Obama could get his mansion, was transferred to Obama's estate without being registered, assessed, or no taxes paid on it. And the PIN number identifying the buffer just disappeared.
Oh, my.
Oh, no.
Now, if any of you did that, you'd be indicted for real estate tax fraud. Everything Barack Obama touches has some kind. He smoked cocaine, admitted it proudly. Well, I'm sorry, that's a felony. And by the way, I asked when did he quit, and they said, well, don't you believe he said he quit in college? I said, no, that's why they drug test athletes. They all say they quit too. Why don't we start drug testing congressmen and senators? By the way, I went to go with blood alcohol driving home and showing up at work. This is something that I think in one county, if you in this room stand up and say, we won't take it anymore, the entire country will applaud and follow us. And Barack Obama will know that from here until Election Day, any one document I find, any one interview I do, any one article I write could be the end of his presidency. And I'm not going to quit. When we landed on D-Day, it didn't take very many men compared to the army we have, but every single one of them had to risk their lives with no assurance of victory. But that handful exerted that courage meant that Hitler's regime was doomed. And it's not going to take much more to let Barack Obama be put on notice that we're coming after him, and we aren't going to stop until the truth is told. So we're trying to explain this to Sheriff Joe in words of one syllable, and I think he'll get it about the first 2 minutes. Then he's going to have to decide if he wants to do it. And that'll depend upon how God weighs on his heart and his mind at the time. So those of you inclined to might want to pray on that tonight, when we get a receptive audience in the morning. But the point is, I think Sheriff Joe is a man of courage, and I'm willing to bet he'll do his duty. I'm going to investigate who can fault him. He's going to say, you know, I sure like to see that document in the vault of the Department of Hawaii. And I think I'll have some of my lawyers file a brief requiring that we get to inspect it. What's Hawaii going to tell a sheriff of the United States, Arizona, Maricopa County, that he can't see a document because the people in the residents of his county have filed a complaint and asked him to look into it on their behalf? I mean, you have the right to be protected, you have the right to be told the truth, and Joe Arpaio has the duty to prevent a forgery from standing in your way and being deceived. I think he'll see his duty. The fact that he's being presented with the question is historic. I mean, here we are. Congress won't respond. The media won't respond. We're coming to a sheriff in a U.S. county to ask him to save the United States. And I don't think it's ever been any different than that. I think when Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, when our founding fathers stood at Lexington and Concord, it didn't take everybody, it took them. And again, I think we will win because in my heart I don't think God allowed the United States of America to be created as long as we stand up and do our duty.
Amen.
Accountability is power. We don't need to wait for government to do something. Government won't do anything. They're all busy in Washington protecting their special interests and their jobs and their behinds. Their retirement plans and all the other goodies they've got. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care about any of that. And we will, as citizens of the United States, you as residents of Maricopa County, will ask Joe Arpaio to do his duty, and I think he'll say, well, you know, this might be something I want to look into. The last thing I want to say on this is the following. I see people out in the country who are mad. You should read my Facebook page. They're angry. They wonder why it's taken so long. I want to remind you that the Watergate burglary occurred in June 1972, and Richard Nixon won a landslide election in November 72. It wasn't until August 74 that he resigned. It takes a little bit of time. But once it happens, once the American people get it, then Barack Obama has no defense. Once it's clear he's lied, and millions of people believe he's lied, he's going to be dogged through the entire campaign about where his birth certificate is, the real one. And we at WorldNet Daily are putting up signs now in Iowa saying, where's the real birth certificate? So the issue is not going away. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming out tonight. And do pray for us tomorrow as we go forward trying to accomplish this mission. Questions, and we have a microphone to get to you.
Okay, if you would, when you ask a question, just stand up, tell us who you are, and we'll get to you. You want to take one? We've got two of them.
One side now.
We all select you. You all go to the person with the microphone. Get out there and just kind of walk around with it.
Somebody had their hand up first. Who did it?
That gentleman in the blue shirt had his hand up first.
Okay.
You go ahead, sir, and then that gentleman will talk.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I'm a little fuzzy on my Hawaiian history. But when did Hawaii become a state, not a territory?
Hawaii was 59 it became a state, 1959. Okay, and Barack Obama was born in 1961. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if Joe Arpaio doesn't go along with this, do we have an alternative?
Right, well, we'll try the next county. We'll try some, I'll publish on Friday that we tried this. And that'll stimulate 100 other sheriffs to say, why didn't they come to me? What's that?
Canal County.
Okay, we'll find somebody else. We'll continue to find
The bald guy, right?
There's somebody that is.
Tyler.
So I'm going to stay, but we're going to take questions for half an hour. So we're going to get to on for half an hour. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Corsi, for coming. We really appreciate it. I want to know what this birth certificate is here that was released by the Aloha Reporter.
Oh, yes.
March of last year.
Yeah, let me see that one. It was a fraudulent one. The Aloha Reporter released it. You can tell by seeing that Madeline Dunham's signature on it is misspelled. And the bottom of it here has a regulation that was cited. That regulation wasn't passed when this document was supposed to have been signed. It was produced by what they call the OBOTs, which is a group of Obama supporters who forged a lot of birth documents. And they try to get us to use them as if they were real so they can ridicule and laugh at us. Next question.
For those of you that are thinking of leaving, please stop by if you haven't signed the petition and you want to.
Yeah, sign the petition before you go. I'll stay to sign books, and I'll stay till they close the room to talk to you.
Colonel Reagan went
Yes.
to prison because Obama would not produce his birth certificate.
Correct.
Is he still in prison?
No, Colonel Lincoln was let out. He served a very short period of time, thank God. And look, Barack Obama released the birth certificate to prevent a book from being published. Well, if he could do that, why didn't he release it to keep this Army colonel from going to prison? Why did he fight for 3 years to release this document that he released? It could be so easily released. Why didn't he release it? Because it didn't exist until 6 weeks ago. That's my theory. This woman and this gentleman.
Could we please try to hold the conversation down so we can all hear the question?
Hi, thank you, Dr. Corsi. My name is Mark. Where did Donald Trump, where did he come from?
Okay.
Why was he in the picture?
Donald Trump talked to me a lot. I'll tell you exactly what I think of Donald Trump. Donald Trump was working for Barack Obama. Donald Trump, he talked to me 4 times. And I said to him, if you really believe the birth certificate after it was released is a fake, and that's what he told me, his golf course designer told him it was a fake. So why don't you get out there and tell the American people that? Well, then what Donald Trump accomplished is to raise the issue, get identified with it, that when the birth certificate was released, he dropped the issue, and the press can say, see, it satisfied Trump. Well, out of that, Donald Trump got a lot of goodies. He got a $160 million contract renewal on The Apprentice at NBC, with GE, even though it was sold to Comcast, still owning a substantial percentage of NBC, and GE, Jeff Immwalt, sitting just about in the Oval Office. And Trump wants to build the casinos in Chicago. Trump's about money. Trump's about Trump. Don't believe a word Trump says. I don't trust Trump. You want to start talking about the birth certificate again, fine, let him be it. Wants to run for president. I told Trump myself that if he started running, he asked me, well, maybe I should run for president again. I said, if you do, Donald, American people will know you're working for Obama, because then all you want, you'll lose, and all you want to do is split the Republican vote. Donald Trump is not to be trusted. It's about money and he's about himself. This woman here, what is ma'am? You have guessed. Go ahead. Yes.
Over here.
Well, okay, she's been wanting. I can hear you. I'll repeat your question.
My name is Jane.
Jane?
And does it concern you that he doesn't look a thing like Senior, Obama Senior, but he does look a lot like Malcolm X?
Okay, the question is, Barack Obama Senior is Malcolm X. Well, there's no proof that he's Malcolm X's son. He does not look like Barack Obama Senior at all. And I've had a lot of questions as to whether he's the father. Well, no, what I think, I've always thought the father was Indonesian. An Indonesian look-alike, very much like Barack Obama, and I think his characteristics are more Indonesian than they are. And she might have met some Indonesian at Lederer's bar one night, and that might be how it happened. The truth is, one day Robert Gibbs in the White House said, we'll probably never know until we get the DNA, and he was trying to ridicule us, but Robert Gibbs told the truth. It doesn't matter, because Barack Obama said, this is my birth certificate, which proves he was a dual citizen at birth and should have been disqualified, and now he's going to be stuck with a fraudulent document. And that's, I think, more important. Ultimately, we may figure out finally who is his father, but I'm not convinced. Malcolm X is still in the run.
Thank you, Doctor. My name is Donovan Zofko. The part about this birth certificate that bothers me is the title.
Yes.
It says Certificate of Live Birth.
Yeah.
I never had a birth certificate. I did have a certificate of live birth. When I went to get my very first passport here in the state of Arizona, I was told I could not have one without a birth certificate. I went to Vietnam on the certificate of live birth, but I couldn't have a birth certificate.
Right. Well, in fact, if you take a look at Maricopa, or you take a look at the Nordite twins, their birth certificate's microfiche. Why isn't Barack Obama's microfiche? They released a computer file, a PDF file. There's no PDF file in 1961. It's not a scan. It doesn't show the characteristics of the scan. Okay, now see, this gentleman in green and that gentleman back in the back.
Which green?
Right there, the one over by the wall. So the one, well, okay, we'll get to you and then to you, sir. Okay, by the wall.
Doctor, what is the situation now on his Social Security number that keeps cropping up?
Social Security number is obviously a fraud. It was issued to somebody in Connecticut. Social Security Administration has now issued, and I've got it on Social Security paper. They did it to a guy named Greg Hollister. The Obama is associated with the number, but it was not issued to Obama. Social Security has admitted that.
They've admitted?
They've admitted it. It's on Social Security stationery. I have a copy of it. They say that it was not issued to Obama, but it's associated with Obama. Clearly, it's fraudulent use of it. And by the way, Bill O'Reilly was totally wrong. His father was never in Connecticut. It wasn't issued to Barack Obama Sr. That's a complete lie that Bill O'Reilly did to cover up his good friend Barack Obama. Yes, sir.
Could the Hawaii Tea Party mount a legal case against the health department of the state of Hawaii or some serving health department there in Hawaii for issuing a fraudulent document?
Yes, they could. And I think, I'm very encouraged that the Tea Parties get involved. People say, well, this is not an economic issue. Why is the Tea Party involved? Look, the Tea Party is about the Constitution. And we're not going to get back to the principles of limited government if we can't respect all the Constitution, starting with the eligibility clause. Yes, sir. We're going to get to everybody we can. Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Russell, Dr. Corsi, how do you explain two newspaper announcements several days after his birth?
Right.
How did they pull that off?
Everybody aware of the two newspaper announcements? I've done a lot of research on this. The Hawaii Department of Health allowed the family members to come in and register a birth, even if the birth didn't occur in Hawaii. Okay, because they still do it. But in the early years of Hawaii becoming a state, a lot of people didn't get registered as being born in Hawaii, and they were being very open about it. You realize that Hawaii gave a birth certificate to Sun Yat-sen, the Chinese leader and nationalist at the end of World War II. Well, Sun Yat-sen was not born in Hawaii. Right, but he had some people give affidavits he was born in Hawaii. Hawaii gave him a birth certificate. The address in the newspaper birth announcement is the address of the grandparents. And Barack Obama Sr. and Ann Dunham never lived at that address together. So the likelihood is the grandparents went in, they said, if this baby was born to us, registered as a Hawaii birth. And they probably did. Now, even Dr. Sinclair might have been the pediatrician, but there's no evidence he was delivered the baby. Where's Dr. Sinclair's records? Pediatricians, obstetricians have got to keep records for a lot of years. Well, the dog, he's dead and the dog ate them too. That's the problem with every single aspect you want of Barack Obama's records, they're missing. Sir?
My name is John Leesworth. You have two real quick ones. Article, section that says you have to have two natural-born citizens to be the president. What are those, please?
Well, first of all, Article 2, Section 1 does not define natural-born citizen. And I think there's a strong argument that Vattel, who was a philosopher, a French philosopher at the time, did influence with his writings in which he specified natural-born citizen as two parents of the country and born in the country. The only Supreme Court case that I'm aware of that really directly addresses it is 1874, Minor v. Happersett. And they utilized the definition, two U.S. citizen parents at birth and born in the country. The resolution for John McCain, Senate 511, used the same criteria. All the other cases, this Wong, Kim, Ark, and others in dicta, attempt to apply the 14th Amendment or British common law interpretations of citizenship to redefine natural-born citizen. But the Supreme Court has never made that a decision and made it the policy of the court. The outstanding case that's ruling is Minor v. Happersett.
Second part, to your knowledge, has any citizen, as an individual, under USC 1985, taken this to federal court?
At the attempts to do it, there have been a couple of attempts that have all failed on standing.
Why?
Well, see, the court, it's it's a technical issue. The court does not like to take a political doctrines question. And they're extremely reluctant to enter into dispute when they could remove somebody from office based on their ruling. Well, it's largely cowardice of the courts, if you want to know the truth. And I think Justice Thomas has about said as much. But the history of the courts is we're not going to solve this in the courts. I think we're going to solve this in the court of public opinion. And when enough Americans come to see it, it's going to be a tipping point. I'm all for filing lawsuits. Orly Tates has been doing it. Berg has been doing it. It's just going to be very difficult to win this issue in the courts. Yes, sir, Green.
Yes, Luke Taylor. What is the estimated amount of money that Barack Obama's counsel has spent in not showing this document?
My best estimate's about $3 million.
Money,
Taxpayer money. Well, the first representative was Robert Bauer from Perkins Coie up in Seattle. And we tracked at WorldNet Daily the FEC reports. We could find about $500,000 that came that way for Barack Obama's campaign and other funds to Perkins Coie for Robert Bauer to represent him in eligibility cases primarily. Then Obama moved Robert Bauer into the White House and made him White House counsel and signed an executive order that said he could work on eligibility cases. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. And after the long-form birth certificate was released, Robert Bauer resigned. And my information was he resigned because he knew it was a forgery and it was his John Dean moment. He didn't want to be any more involved with this case representing Obama, and he checked out. Because he could lose his license over this. Once it's proved to be a forgery, the next person we're going to examine is Robert Bauer.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.